Welcome, everyone, to another CTC Software webinar. My name is Sean Zervis, the Director of BIM Development here at CTC Software, and today we get to do a nice, comprehensive introduction into the Nexus Suite's analytics engine. I'm going to take a pretty deep look at this. Now, as always, of course, we keep an eye on the questions window, so if you're here with us live, we encourage you to go ahead and ask questions there while we're talking about this topic, and we try to answer them for those of you participating with us. For those of you participating with us on YouTube, we hope that this eventually earns your subscription and that you'll subscribe to the channel, come back, check back for more information as we talk about our tool sets. All right, without further ado, let's jump into today's topic and kind of get into the root of the discussion today. So here's what I find. Information is fantastic. I like having a lot of information, but in a lot of cases, we have to have the ability to navigate that information, because if we can't navigate it, it's not really that great. Like I've heard said before, every book is a children's book if the kid can read, right? So you have to know how to navigate your information to be able to really get any value out of it. So in this webinar, I'm going to be talking about the analytics capabilities for CTC accounts, the licensing system, the project activity logger, the content management system, all available within the Nexus suite, or I should say the analytics aspect is available from the Nexus suite. Now, hopefully at the conclusion of this webinar, you're going to be very prepared to fetch and really go through all of your information. And hopefully it'll take you very little effort. And the goal for this is that you can take this information and make more informed decisions as it relates to your workflows, your purchasing, your design process, all of it, right? That's the whole goal here. So we're going to go through a couple of specific topics today. We're going to talk about navigating the stock reporting that's available from the portal. Take a quick look at that. We are going to take more time and implement customizable reporting, so you can actually dig even deeper and ask questions that are more interesting to you beyond the stock reporting. The two are similar in how they're configured, but the nice thing about the customizable reports is that, well, they're customizable and you can change how it presents the information and ask different questions and start with the base reports we've put together. Now we'll talk lightly about digging deeper for even more advanced reporting and even more advanced data integrations with this information. And then at the very end, we're going to talk and review some of the additional resources that you're probably going to want to have at your fingertips so that you can better leverage this information at your firm. So first, let's talk a little bit about navigating the stock reports. So these stock reports allow you to get access to your enterprise information, or what I'll also call accounts data. This is your users and your groups and your configurations of those. It'll talk about the cloud shared licensing, or the CSL. That's what we use for an abbreviation on that. It will give you access to the content management system information, or CMS, and it also gives you access for the Revit side to the project activity logs. So that PAL data, that can be really important. Now, we're not talking about how to set up any of these tools today. We're only talking about the information that you can review from the harvesting. And so what I'm going to do is jump into the portal. And here on the website, I'm just going to maximize this real quick so we can see everything on screen. This is ctcsoftware.com, gone there, and I've gone here into the portal signed in as myself using my CTC Express Tools account that I use when I'm demonstrating customer-facing reporting stuff. So that's where I'm at right now. And in here, I was talking about the enterprise. I talked about the cloud shared licensing, the CMS, and the PAL, or projects data. And so we'll be taking a look at these here. First off, in the enterprise, you can get access to your accounts, your users, and kind of filter down based on roles, kind of see who's active, who's not active, search for users, kind of see what's going on in your organization. Similarly here, we have groups, the groups that are here in your org, and you can quickly filter down for different users or see which groups have which roles, see what users are in those groups. There's a lot of information that you have access to here. The next one that most people want to look at pretty much right away is the cloud shared licensing aspect. In this area, you can get an overview of your top used applications, in this case, the top 5 apps, by time spent in the app. You can see a little breakdown of your licensing over here on the top right. The bottom left shows time in suites for all of CTC's products here in this case, and you can actually filter these lists as well. We'll get to that in just a moment. And then to the right, I can see a breakdown of how these tools are being used by different users on your team. So for example, I could click in here to myself. I've got 531 hours of time spent on stuff. Most of that time has been spent in the Nexus suite these last 30 days. And within there, I can see it's the standards, the activity logger, and the CMS. And so there's some different tools that I've been using quite a lot lately. Other team members like Chris on my team has been spending time in Nexus, spending time in the BIM batch suite, spending time in data suite. And you can actually filter down for specific users if you want to as well. If I click on just Chris, these 2 charts to the top left are actually interactive, and they'll update, and they'll tell me time spent in different suites for that one user that I've selected. And within that, which tools specifically are their top 5 tools. Alternatively here, I could check something like, let's get rid of just choosing Chris. Maybe I want to focus on something like BIM, I don't know, batch suite's probably a good thing to focus on. And I can see what's the most popular tools here. In our case, plotter and exporter is the most popular. I can see family exporter, loader, project processor, and then over here I can see a breakdown of users by that particular suite and those particular tools within that suite, right? So you can start to filter and see some of this information. Now, this was just an example of how to navigate some of these stock reports. And maybe you don't like how this data is presented, and maybe you want more than 30 days, and that's okay. We'll be digging into that in a minute, how you can do some of that. There's also CMS data, which gives you some overview of your overall CMS and users and whatnot that have access to it. You can see things like searches with zero results, for example, and who's done what. You can see permissions by library and what kind of content you've got. Actually, that one's still in progress, so ignore that one. You can see how your tagging is allocated across your libraries and what's used most and not so much, and what's been searched and not. And there's a bunch of information that's available here. So within the CMS, you can see how it's interacting. And then for those of you in the Revit front, you can also take a look at your project activity data and see how your projects are set up. For example, I can see on one of my projects how long it takes to open it over time, and what the file size is over time, and what the warnings are in that model over time. And so this can be very meaningful for who's working on what and where, and what models they're spending most of their time in. There's a lot of information. Warnings. I love looking at the warnings list here and finding out what's critical and what's not by project model, so I can actually see that at a click of a button and not have to really dig too deeply, right? So there's a lot of valuable information here at your fingertips with no need to do anything extra. These are just stock available reports. But I know that many of you probably want to dig in and actually look at this information in different ways. And so for that, we have the ability to customize this reporting, not in the web portal, but we have an entire web API that's available to give you access to a lot of other information. The same stuff that you saw in the portal, but even more beyond that. So let's take a look at how you can get access to customizable reporting. There's actually 2 different paths you can go. I'm going to show you one today that is going to be on the site in just a couple of days here. I'm going to show it as if it's on the site already, and you'll see where you can go, but I'll give you another path here in a moment that you can go to as well. So first off, you want to get the files that you need from the portal's dashboards, the dashboards area, and I'll show you where that is. You will need to email in to CTC if you don't already have a reporting key and get a reporting key from us. The reporting key is free. There's no cost for this. You just have to ask for it so you can get access to your key. You can email in to licenserequest@ctcsoftware.com and just ask for a reporting key, and we'll be more than happy to send that key over to you for your organization. Now, when you go download the files, there will be some instructions, but most specifically, there's going to be an Excel file that holds your raw data, and there's going to be a Power BI file that actually generates the actual reporting, since Power BI's reporting is a bit more powerful, quite a bit more powerful than the base reporting that you can do live within Excel. Power BI is a terrible data storage system, so that's why we chose to break the two apart and have Excel hold the data and Power BI do the reporting. It's a bit more efficient that way. There's certainly other ways you could do this, but this is how we are supporting it moving forward. Now I want to demonstrate this to you. So I've actually already gone to the site and downloaded this file, but I'm going to show you where it will be for you on the site. There's the API data access here at the bottom of the dashboard list of items. This used to say downloads. It no longer says that. It's API data access. And there are two things you can get from here. The first one is the data storage package. This is going to require an API key. You can simply download this. It's just a zip file that has all of the files that you need for the Excel and Power BI workflow in here. There is also a Postman collection, and I'll talk more about that a little later on, but this, you can get the Postman collection and also get access to Postman right from here as well, which is postman.com. It's a great little way of navigating what is available in the backend API when you want to go deeper. But again, we'll talk about that in a minute. First off, data support package. I've downloaded this already, and I've already extracted it here to my computer. There will be a README that goes along with it. I'm not going to go through the README one by one. What I am going to do is show you how this Excel file actually works. So in the Excel file itself, if I go to here, this Excel file, and let me maximize this real quick here. This Excel file, you need to do a little bit of setup. First off, I have just opened this Excel file just before the presentation today, and oftentimes I will get this security warning the very first time I open it up. There are references in here to outside website API calls, and so you have to actually enable that external data connection. Otherwise, Excel will not refresh with how we've got this configured. So I'm going to enable that content. Once I've enabled that content, the other thing that you will have to do is go to the Data tab, and you're going to have to go to Queries and Connections. This is going to allow you to input your custom API key into this Excel file, and you're going to save it. And when you do that, then you'll be able to just refresh your data from this. You will never have to come back to the CTC website, the actual portal, to download these files again, unless there's a significant change you want to take advantage of. But the whole point of this is that you can simply refresh directly from Excel, and it'll connect to the back-end system and let you update this. Now, this reporting key right now is not filled out as anything when you first download it, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to edit this. You can either double-click on this, or you can click Edit. It'll tell you what the key is up here, but you'll have to actually edit it, and it pulls up the Microsoft Power Query Editor to be able to put this value in. And I'm going to go ahead and do Windows V here. Yep, that's the first thing that I've got copied, or Control V actually to paste. Windows V, if you're using a Windows computer, will let you, if you've turned it on, actually have multiple items in your copied clipboard. So, and you can recall those. But this is my little API key for my organization. This isn't going to help you guys at all because, well, it's my data, so you probably won't interest you much. I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I'm going to save this file. And then I'm going to do a refresh. Now, the base settings inside here go after some basic data. It's going to go after my accounts tables, and it's going to go after my cloud shared licensing tables. Those of you interested in the CMS tables, you may want to turn that to true. That's back in that settings area. You can simply edit this value and change it to true. And if you wanted the PAL data, you can go after that as well. And if you want, you can go after even more details by modifying these content details and search details both to true, or one or the other to true, or doc session details to true. It's actually already true, but it's not getting anything because that's set to false. So you can modify these values. If you want more data, you can modify this date offset to be 60, 90, or 180. Just understand that the more of these things you turn on, the longer this refresh takes. So it could take a little bit longer if you're starting to get more and more data. But ultimately, the most important thing here is the report API key, and then I can close these connections. And I'm going to go ahead and hit refresh, and I'm going to let this cook. This usually takes, the very first time you do it, probably about 2 minutes. Now, I'm not going to watch this happen. What I am going to do is talk about the other aspect of this, which is Microsoft Power BI. Now, you will want to go download Microsoft Power BI Desktop, and it doesn't have any cost. It's free if you're using Microsoft's tools. as long as you don't want to share this with other team members. And in my case, I'm not sharing this with anybody. I'm just using this for myself. If you do want to share it, if you do want to publish some of your settings, then you will actually need to have a Microsoft Power BI license if you want to share this with other team members and not have this be editable by them. So that's beyond the scope of today's discussion. The goal here is that you can get a ton of data inside of here just by modifying a quick setting. Up here at the top in the Power BI file, in the transform data area, actually it's the edit parameters area, there's a path here that actually links to the Excel file itself, the one that we just made modifications in and are refreshing right now as we speak. You need to put that path, the full path to the file here in this parameter right here. So what I'm going to do from Windows Explorer, if I could pull that forward, here we go, is I'm going to shift and right click on this Excel file. And when you hold down the shift key and right click, it gives you the ability to copy this entire path of the entire Excel file. It goes beyond just copying this, and it copies it with this name here as well. So it saves you an extra copy paste. So I'm going to do copy as path, and in Microsoft Power BI, I'm going to delete this entire path. So end, home, shift home, and delete, and I'm going to paste in that new path, whatever it is. The file name can change to whatever you'd like this to be. In my case, it says default because, well, I'm using the default file, but you can modify this to whatever you want. You do need to remove the following double quotes and the preceding double quotes. So I'm going to delete those two things and leave just the actual path itself, and I'm going to click OK. Now, there are some changes here. I'm going to go ahead and save this real quick before I actually apply my changes, and I'm going to double check on that Excel file and see if it's refreshed. So in the time it took me to tell you how to get that path and to copy paste it, my data is now all in this file for what I've gone after, for the data that I've asked it to fetch. And I'm going to go ahead and save this file, this Excel file, so it has that information in it. Now, if I jump back into Power BI, I can do a quick refresh here, and this will refresh from the Excel file. The data's already been pulled from the cloud, from the reporting API. I've done all the footwork for you on that. All you have to do is input that one value into the Excel file, your reporting API key, save it, tell the Power BI file the path to the Excel file, and it gets all the information. Now, this is telling me that it's got one error. It's got one error because it couldn't refresh the CMS data, and that's okay. I didn't ask it to refresh the CMS data, and the Power BI file says, hey, but I need information. It's fine. Just hit close. It'll be okay. And I'm going to save one more time here just to make sure that I have all of my data saved. And then you can begin to go through your users, just like you can in the portal. You can go through your groups. You can do cross-filtering. You can customize all of these individual things out here, begin to cross-filter back and forth, do whatever you want. This is now your report. You can see your cloud shared licensing overview, where if you want to, you can begin to filter down. Maybe on your team, you are using Nexus, but maybe the Ally and CMS tools are just overpowering as far as how much time people spend in it. I get it, totally get it. I can deselect the Nexus suite and now focus on just the other suites out here very easily. I could deselect, say, Superdoor and Casework and maybe the SIM suites, or maybe I only want the SIM suites and begin to focus on just the suites that I want and see how much time breakdown is between those suites and what the top X popular tools are. And in fact, in this case, this is inaccurate. It's top 10 used applications. I did a couple more here and forgot to update that piece of data. I can see who's using which tools and how much time they spent tool by tool. I can see a license breakdown here. So it's similar to what's in the portal, but the data is presented in a slightly different way. I can see information about the CMS if I had refreshed that data. There's other information further down about PAL data. And here on the Home tab, it makes it real easy to navigate each of the individual tabs that you might want to get to. So it's simply a control click, and it'll take you right to that tab down here at the bottom. And on each of the tabs, there's a really easy control click to get back to the home page, so you don't have to scroll along just a ton of tabs down here. It's an option for you. So this now is, again, 100% customizable. You can do whatever you need to with this information so that you can begin to slice up the data however you'd like. To the right over here, you can see a ton of data fields. This actually pulls all of the information from Excel into this environment. It references it and makes all of it able to be just thrown onto different visuals in ways that you find interesting. Okay. Feel free to customize this all day long. Do whatever you need to it. If you have questions about it, as per usual, you can always reach out to CTC, and we're more than happy to answer those questions for you. Now, some of you may want to go a little bit further, right? I'm giving you the easy button with the Excel file and Power BI side. You simply have to put in your API key and refresh some data, and you've got access to it in an Excel space. But you might want to go a little bit further. You might want to do some more advanced reporting or some more advanced usage and data integrations, and you can absolutely do that. To do that, you'll have to dig a little deeper. You can get the raw data set, the raw sort of connections to the API, once again, via the portal up here. So if I go back to the portal, that's the CTC Postman collection. You can set up Postman. Just give you a quick example of what this looks like here. Jump over into Postman. And inside of Postman, once you have this all set up, nope, I went to the wrong spot here. Let's go to reports, to users, to CTC API, and I can send this request. This will tell you exactly what the parameters are. It will help you understand, if you are a coder, exactly how the location and the URL needs to be structured and what the parameters are and the values, and all of this you can go through and modify and tweak and see how it's supposed to be requested and how the data is going to get sent back, and then use this in your environment however you see fit. You can absolutely do that. And I even have some sample code in Python that you can use to further leverage this for storing some of this data in a database instead of it being Excel. Again, the goal with that is that you can leverage this to a deeper level if you want to. Now, if you want to get access to some of my code, you can get access to that via github.com/SeanZcode. This is code that I've written and that I support. CTC doesn't support any code in that area, but you can get access to it there. Now, the reason why I bring up that little section is because if you were to go into that area, you go into my GitHub repository, there are two things that you can get from there. You can get the API essential stuff, which is the two Excel files, the XLSX and the Power BI file right from here as well. And you can also get the entire Postman setup before it's available on our official website. So this is where I'm doing latest and greatest work, and I test stuff out here. So if you want to get access to that latest and greatest, you absolutely can. And then when we're ready to release official releases, they go to the main portal. So those of you who want to be bleeding edge, this is a great place to go. For those of you who like to dig in and tinker with code. And again, there's a bunch of code inside of here as well that you can feel free to dig into if you'd like. So that is an option. You can use that Postman collection to dig into the data structure, as I just pointed out. And then from there, you can leverage that to connect to the data and use it in whatever method, that's supposed to be method, not mythos, whatever method of your choice to extract, to translate, and to load that data into any system that you'd like. So you can use this however when you go and use that raw data. Again, I'm giving you a way to do it by using Excel and Power BI, but there's a lot of other ways in which you can do this. So what I want to do is just recap a couple of things here real quick. I want to point you to all of the additional resources that you might need and have it in one location for you. Resource number one, you need a reporting key. For the Postman data, you need a reporting key. For using the code, if you're going to do custom stuff, you need a reporting key. And even if you're just going to be doing the Excel file, well, you need that reporting key. That's what gets you access to your company's data. All right. You can get that reporting key from license request at ctcsoftware.com. Again, just ask for it. It has no cost. Just ask for and get that key, and you can begin to use the Excel-based data with the Power BI, or go crazy with it and do whatever you need with the reporting API. You will need to sign on to the portal if you want to view the base data. And you can get to that by doing ctcsoftware.com and just sign in, or ctcsoftware.com/portal as a quick shortcut. If you bookmark that, that'll get you to those base dashboards whenever you want to get there. That's also a great place to go to get some of those downloads as soon as they're published officially. And then you can also go to my GitHub repository at github.com/SeanZcode, and that'll get you the bleeding edge content or anything that's pre-release before it actually hits the portal. So all of the files that I've been talking about today are actually available at that repository. So with that, before we're completely done, for those of you watching this on the YouTube side, and for those of you who don't like sticking around for the Q&A, I want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you who participate with us in these live webinars. We feel like it keeps it interesting to us. We hope it's interesting for you. And also thank you, those of you watching this in the future on the YouTube area. We hope you found this valuable. And again, we hope that this earns a like and a subscription from you.